Welcome to the first session in 2022 on the series Green Stories for Lunch, brought to you by the Innovation Lab and the Youth Ecopreneur Awards teams here at the International Trade Center. My name is Sibylle Neuhaus. I'm working in the Communications and Events team of ITC, and I'm delighted to have been asked to moderate this first session of the year. The title of today's Green Stories for Lunch session is Plant Powered Sustainability, One Plate at a Time. Our guest speaker, Lidia Diaz, has founded her company Plant Powered in 2017. And the second part of the title, Sustainability, One Plate at a Time, really calls for all of us to contribute to a more sustainable planet through our own eating habits. Lidia Diaz made this her mission to help change eating habits towards a plant-based diet for a more sustainable world. Actually, we already heard from one of the a family member of Lidia's, because the music you just heard, maybe not what you would typically link to the Dominican Republic, was in fact composed by Lidia's brother Joel, who at the age of 20 just won an award at the annual music awards of the Ministry of Culture of the Dominican Republic. Congratulations. And maybe one of my colleagues could kindly put the link to the song into the chat. Please feel free, participants, to share questions and comments in the chat and in the Q&A. With yesterday's reminder email for today's session, you have also received a link to a YouTube video with a recipe that of Dominican rice and beans. Lidia had shared that. So all of us here, the organizing team, has tried it out, and I see if you can see my results. And please, again, if anybody of you also has followed this suggestion, please share your comments. And this is easy to make, very tasty, and sustainable. We are talking today about both health, or how both health of people and planet can be improved by the choices we make. It's responsible for over a quarter of greenhouse gas emissions globally. So the way we grow, process, and transport food is a major contributor to climate change. Reducing this will require dramatic changes in agriculture, manufacturing, and transport. The food we buy is driven by consumer demand, retail marketing, and production practices. Who is responsible for driving change when it comes to sustainability? We all are, of course, and we need to step up to the plate, take action in response to the crisis. Let's remind ourselves with one striking chart how different foods impact the environment differently in terms of greenhouse gases. This is a chart you're going to see in a second. The source is the Visual Capitalist, based on data drawn from the large study undertaken with 38,000 farms in 40 product groups. And the results was published in Science, in the magazine Science, in April 21. And we just want to see the difference between beef and cassava in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, as you see up top and down low, highlighted in yellow. And we remind ourselves later when we hear from Lidia's ecopreneur journey, what she is really, how she's contributing to a sustainable future. Now, before we hear from Lidia herself, to my colleagues at the Innovation Lab and the Youth Ecopreneur Awards and GreenToCompete Hub. Adriana, Hannah, and Cherika are with me, and to just ask them to share a little bit the context why we're invited, or they invited Lidia to today's Green Stories for Lunch session. Adriana, could I ask you to idea of what you're doing and why?
Thank you so much, Sibyle. So thank you so much. I'm going to just apologize at the outset because I seem to have a problem with activating my camera. It's the first time that happens. So it's not like I don't want you to see me, but for some strange reason, I couldn't activate it today. And I didn't want to cause any more technical trouble. So I left it like that, basically. So just to give you a bit of context, so most of you know about the lab, but for the ones who are not familiarized with it, the Innovation Lab exists at ITC since seven years ago, and we were created as a grassroots initiative, pretty much colleagues, developed by colleagues to develop services for colleagues as well, to foster creativity and innovation at ITC. So basically anybody can be a member of the lab. You can join our weekly meetings and then pitch your initiatives there. And the Green Stories for Lunch has been one of these initiatives. It started, I think, 3 years ago. And Hannah was one of the members at the very start of the journey. And basically it has the objective of highlighting sustainability and the intersection of innovation and how we can incorporate the changes to make our daily lives more sustainable. So I'm going to hand it over to Hannah at this moment, so she can just give her own perspective, and then we transition to the GreenToCompete team. Thank you.
Hey, sorry, it took me a moment. I'm busy eating my own lunch here of rice and beans, but I did a little Brazilian variation. Well, I didn't, but my boyfriend did. So thanks, Adriana. I'm happy to just very briefly share a bit more about the Green Stories for Lunch, but I think the best way is really just to experience it. So the idea behind the concept was that we wanted to come up with a format that would offer practicable and actionable recommendations as to how to live your life in a more fair and sustainable way. We wanted to showcase the stories of people who really took action, but to also inspire other people to do better in their own lives and to adopt a greener and fairer lifestyle, which is, of course, very much in line also with the goals that ITC is trying to promote overall. So we did a number of different events. In the beginning, when we were still before the pandemic, we tried to do the event physically at ITC. This is also where the lunch concept comes from, that we actually invited people to bring their lunch boxes to the Innovation Lab and to sit down for a very informal conversation over food. And once the pandemic started and we were forced to move to the virtual realm, that actually allowed us to bring guest speakers from outside of Geneva also to this format. And we did previous editions with, for example, the founder of Ecosia, which is kind of the green alternative to Google or Bing or other search engines. We did a story for lunch with Cradle to Cradle, an organization that promotes a kind of the next level of circular economy. And for this year, we actually decided to use the Green Stories for Lunch format to showcase the stories of the Ecopreneur Awards winners. And we're really, really happy to have Lidia on board for today. I think I'll pause here, but I'm happy to answer any more questions if you want to reach out to me through the chat. And also, if you want to be involved in future Stories for Lunch planning sessions, you're more than welcome to reach out.
Thank you, Adriana and Hannah. Now it's over to Cherika, please, who is part of the GreenToCompete team, of course, and also talks about Lidia's win as of the Youth Ecopreneur Awards. Thank you.
Thank you, Sibylla, Hannah, and also Adriana. My name is Cherika. I'm from the GreenToCompete team of ITC. We are ITC's activator for an inclusive transition to a green economy. And Lidia is one of our winners of ITC's Youth Ecopreneur Awards, a program we initiated in a collaboration with the Youth and Trade team. So it's basically, if it's the first time you hear about this, it's a green business competition for young entrepreneurs up to 35 years old from least developed and developing countries. And we targeted companies that offer innovative solutions to green challenges. We launched the competition just last year in 2021, and we got more than 650 applicants coming from more than 80 countries. And we have 3 winners, and Lidia is one of them. So given the success of last year, we are going to do it again this year. So stay tuned for more updates, and I'm going to share with you a link below if you want to know more about the Youth Ecopreneur Awards and also about the GreenToCompete. And yeah, over to you, Sibyl.
Thank you, Cherika. And now we're very, very happy to have Lidia with us. Good morning to Santo Domingo. Thank you very much, Lidia, for joining us before your workday starts.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation and for letting us share what we're passionate about in our mission. And also, I feel very honored that you prepared the recipe. It's a very Dominican, a very dear recipe here. We eat it for lunch. That's why I'm having breakfast right now. But I'm half Costa Rican too. And in Costa Rica, this type of dish is what they eat for breakfast, rice and beans.
Okay.
So if I was in Costa Rica, I would be eating that.
Very good. No, it's true. This series for you should have been called Green Stories Before Breakfast, but then it fits well. Fantastic. Thank you. So welcome again. Thank you for being here. Just maybe to just kick off your story. What made you become an ecopreneur, an entrepreneur, but really an ecopreneur? Just share a little bit your inspiration and aspiration as an ecopreneur. Thank you.
Well, yes, it's an interesting story actually, because our business has to do with nutrition. But my passion for the environmental aspect developed a little later. For example, my mother is a doctor. She's a diabetologist and nutritionist. So I studied nutrition, and my father is a philosopher. So I came to realize later that I combined nutrition with a philosophy for the environment. But I didn't get involved in eating plant-based foods because of the environment. It was more because of my health. And when I started making changes in my diet, I started to realize that I was feeling really good. I was feeling energized. And then I started to watch all the documentaries, of course. That was about 10 years ago. There were about 2 or 3 documentaries, not the ones that we have now. It's very fortunate that now we have that amount of consciousness, and that it's become mainstream to think about your environmental repercussions, because diet is the human activity that has more to do with the environment aspect. Usually we don't think about it, but what we put in our mouth is what impacts the environment the most.
Yeah, thank you. So I see that you are looking at kind of individual versus the broader reasons for coming to found your company. The start is the health reason, for your own health, and then you moved towards really seeing that this change in eating habits does not only benefit your own individual health, but the health of the planet as well. If we continue, I mean, you said, of course, now it's already almost mainstream to kind of think about the impact of our consumption, our food consumption, but it's not at all. This understanding is not broad enough by any means yet. No, what risks do you see in if you continue on the current path for the heads of people and planet?
Yes, I refer to mainstream because maybe before it didn't even have a name. If you didn't eat certain products that are not environmentally friendly, you used to be the weird one, or the one that doesn't eat meat, for example. But nowadays, even though we need more people that can make more changes, if you meet a vegan, it's not that strange, and people that even don't have that diet, they know what it is. And maybe they've seen something, even if they haven't adopted it. So I think we've come a long way in the last 5-10 years in understanding, even if we don't make a change, but in understanding that our diet has an impact. And that's the first step, because it's very hard to change habits. And for the last 2 decades, 2 or 3 decades, how the diet that we have adopted, it has negative repercussions for the environment, but also for our health, because every product that we see in the supermarket has the feature that is very practical, and it can be adopted to the lifestyle that we have now as human beings, that maybe is not the ideal lifestyle even for our species, but it works. Those type of products, they work. But these products tend to be very processed. And the more processed a product is, the more environmentally dangerous it is. Every processed meat has a negative environmental impact more than any other type of product. And it also has a health impact. I think the resource that is in most danger right now is water. We can measure CO2 emissions, and the land usage is very important, but water is something that we can't live without. And for example, the Stockholm International Water Institute, there's a study from them that says that by 2050, the humanity, they have to become vegetarian if they want to survive, because there's not enough water to produce the amount of food that we consume now, and even more in the developed societies, because in developing countries, the consumption of environmentally negative products is not that they consume more natural products, and the more natural you eat, the less environmental impact your diet has. So that is one aspect. On the health aspect, you see that those societies that are more developed, they now tend to have more cases of chronic diseases, because those diseases are associated with diet. There are dietary phenomena that we've seen in the last few years, like the increase in food allergies in the general population. There's a correlation between how much we've been relying on processed foods and the food allergy cases that have been increasing over the last few decades. And everything has to do with the economic system, even because the economic system benefits from this. They sell you the processed foods, then you get sick, then they sell you the medicine. If you need to fix your gut health, for example, that's where most of your health starts, in your gut. They sell you the probiotics, for example. But in reality, for most people, just switching to a whole foods diet, you can even reverse the damage that you may have caused to your system. And there's a knowledge that we've had for over 2,000 years, when Hippocrates said that let food be your medicine. So it's that simple.
Thank you very much. It's a very we as you know, International Trade Center, we're looking at food systems, at also holistically at trade related issues. But it's very interesting also to bring your kind of two hats in here, with looking more also at the health aspects of this topic. Is a vegan diet then? Do you see a vegan diet, strictly vegan diet, as the solution to the crisis?
Well, ultimately, what I believe is that we're gonna start a switch towards that, but it's not gonna be that simple or that fast. But for many people, adopting a strict vegan diet is not realistic. That is why right now we have many alternatives that can help you transition, food alternatives that will help you transition to a more plant-based diet, which plant-based not necessarily means a healthy diet, because everything can be unhealthy. Even French fries are plant-based. But I think the key word here is balance, and eating whole foods. The less processed foods you eat, the better you'll feel, and the more environmentally friendly your diet will be. So I don't think that necessarily everyone will become vegan, but we can't say that right now, because our children will have a different criteria, and our grandchildren too, and maybe they will see the world in a different view, and maybe they will understand how to take better care of themselves and the planet.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, and you and your company and your advocacy helps, as you mentioned, for people to shift eating habits and to transition to a more sustainable way of consuming food. I'm really looking forward to sharing with everybody really concretely what what products you're offering, what you have developed as alternatives. Before that, we have go to a quick poll, because you mentioned one of the key challenges is really water use and water consumption, and this will be one of the key challenges going forward. And in this context, we have prepared a little poll quickly for all of us participants, to see how we what we are, where we know the environmental impact of our consumption. So if you're ready for the challenge, please help us in quickly answering 5 questions, and to see how close you come to reality. We all know, we all have an inkling, but some of the answers are still surprising. So give you a few minutes to complete this.
You're not allowed to Google the answer, so use your instinct.
Couple of more minutes. So Lidia, maybe just we use the time to again point out what Chirika already said, is that you were one of the winners of our first Youth Ecopreneur Awards, and your approach. I mean, you also won, not only, but also because one of the aspects you pointed out and you are addressing is really the water consumption and using the use of water in production. Could I ask you if you have, apart from producing plant-based products, what other sustainable practices are you behind, or are you passionate about and have you integrated in your business?
Yes, we try to be very holistic in our approach to being sustainable. For example, we examine every step of our processes and our activities to ensure that we do it in a sustainable way and that is not damaging the environment, or that has at least impact, because our very existence has an impact, and everything we do, it has an energy consumption. But for example, one of the practices that we have is a waste management program. Most of our waste is vegetable matter. So this vegetable matter, we donated to be used as a compost ingredient, but also every other waste that we have, it comes back to the recycling process. All the plastic and all the metal and paper, we recycle it, and we contribute more to be more sustainable, and also we diminish our waste and the waste that has to go to the general disposal system. It minimizes a lot. So that's one of the things that we try to do. We also, to our suppliers that are since we tend to buy in bulk, we don't manage that amount of packaging, but the amount of packaging that we receive, we demand from them that is recyclable packaging. So for example, it's very fortunate for us that we receive from the local farmers, we receive all the vegetables that we use, and they tend to come with no packaging, only their natural packaging. But for other products, we try to buy them in bulk and in packaging that is not individual, so that diminishes a lot. We also are very transparent in our activities. We made a report about our consumption of or generation of everything, of all the waste, and also our consumption of gas with the transportation, everything that has to do with consumption energy, how many watts we consume, everything, we measure that, and every month, and we have that report. So our activities are very transparent, and not only to inform our consumers and our stakeholders, but for us to be accountable and to measure where we're doing good and where we could do better.
Thank you very much. No, it's the key is here holistic approach, and it's very inspiring. In the meantime, we've had the results come in of the poll. And we have quickly looking at the results of here. So we have how many liters of water are needed to produce 1 liter of cow's milk. And the right answer was 33% have correctly responded. It is actually 628 liters of water are needed to produce 1 liter of cow's milk, which is staggering. And then, of course, how many liters of water are needed to produce 1 liter of oat milk in contrast. And the answers were 50, 100, or 150 liters, and 44% got the answer right, and it's only 50 liters opposed to 628 for cow's milk. And then we had, as the third question was, what is the average drop in food-related greenhouse gas emissions when people switch from a typical Western diet to a vegan one? And here we had 25, 35, or 54%. The right answer is 45%, and over half responded correctly. And how much lower is the carbon footprint of lentils compared to that of beef? We've seen before in the chart at the beginning, of course, this is an enormous change and enormous difference. Here we had 254 times lower, or 43 times lower, or 25 times lower. The right answer is 43 times lower, and over half of you have responded correctly. And the last question is, we currently eat 150 to 200 kinds of plants, but how many discovered edible plant species are there in the world? And we had between 20,000 and 50,000, 350, between 1,500 and 1,550, and 150,000. The right answer, again, over half of the respondents answer correctly, is between 20,000 and 50,000 plant species. Thank you very much for participating in this poll. It's always interesting to kind of remind ourselves a little bit of really what is at stake, and what we can change with just changing our eating habits. Now, Lidia, you've given us a good idea of why you open your business and where you see the way forward for all of us. But now we would like to look really into what kind of products are you offering, and what are the alternatives that you have developed? And for that, I would like to just ask my colleague to share maybe a link to your website, and let you comment on maybe the different products, and also to what of course is quite stands out is that you are offering alternatives, plant-based alternatives to meat. And there's always, we're always interested in how this is received and how you've developed it, and how you see this getting a more even better reception in the future.
Yes, I really like the last question of the poll that says, do you know how many other edible plants there are that we do not employ? Because that has a lot to do with what we're trying to do as a company. Usually people think that a plant-based diet is boring, it's not exciting, it's not as rich as what they're used to eat. But it's all the contrary. There's a whole world of edible plants, grains, tubers, leafy greens, fruits, there is out there. And what a part of our mission is to help people discover that, and that a plant-based diet can be fun, it can be delicious, it can inspire you, it can be colorful, and that you can really make it sustainable in time, and it's not a sacrifice. You don't have to sacrifice flavor, and you don't have to sacrifice your traditions, because there's always a plant-based way to do something that you used to enjoy before. And that is part of what we do. We offer those type of products that, for example, in our country, they're used to eat, but in a plant-based way. And also products that that help to transition, like, for example, meat substitutes. We develop burger substitutes, chicken substitutes, dairy substitutes. And those are very good for people who are transitioning or that don't want to transition, but want to lower their environmental impact, and they're not even vegan. They like meat because meat has it's an acquired taste, but we acquired so little that when we're so young, that it stays with you, and that flavor and that umami, but that can be replicated with plants. So the meat alternatives are a part of what we do, but also that part of discovering plant-based foods, whole plant-based foods in a fun way. So those are the two main aspects that we cover with our products.
Mm-hmm. And which kind of customers have you reached so far, and what is your target market? Are you exporting already? How do you where do you see the biggest potential for your company, for your product?
Well, because of the approach that we've taken, most of our customers or consumers are not even vegetarian or vegan. The big percentage of our consumers are people that just have regular diets, that have discovered that this type of foods taste good. First of all, because everything starts with your senses, and also that is better for the environment and is better for your health. So it's positive in every way. So we started here in the Dominican Republic with the brand, and then we started exploring other Latin American markets, such as Mexico and Costa Rica. And right now we're in the process of exporting the products to the United States. So what we're trying to do is not only bringing a plant-based diet options, but also to maybe advertise our culinary cuisine of the Dominican Republic, Caribbean cuisine, which is not that common in other countries, in the United States, in Europe. Maybe it's not, that cuisine is not that well known. And that's also what we're trying to do, to bring more variety to people's diet and to promote our culture.
Yeah, thank you very much. I understand that our colleagues from the Alliances for Action team will also maybe go with you to a trade fair later this year to see if to test how if new customers can be won over by your approach. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, of course. We're in that program that the ITC is participating to. It's with the UK government. They selected 30 companies from the Caribbean. So we've been receiving the assistance to make our products export ready for the UK and the European market in general. So we're very grateful for that assistance too.
So good luck. We hope that you know, always confident that they see also with your presence there, they will be inspired. I need to mention something that you had told us before, which I think is that you're not only looking at sustainable production and consumption, but you're also looking at inclusive consumption. You already mentioned that your approach to waste management, to recycled packaging, and you told us that for the packaging you're using for the etiquette, for the text, using braille as well to reach visually impaired communities.
Yes, one of the initiatives that we've had is to provide our packaging available in Braille language for the vision impaired consumers. And that's actually an initiative that has bring us a lot of satisfaction, because we have seen how that small contribution can make a good impact in that community. It's a very small change in the labeling, and for them it's a huge change in their daily habits and how they can cook the things that they want to cook, how they can find in their fridge what they want to cook for the day. It's very I think that more companies should take that initiative, because it's not that hard and it has a great impact.
Yeah, I think so too. This is a fantastic step in the right direction. It also is almost like a symbol for what we want to, the message you want to convey today, and we want to convey today, is that a small change in habits, small change in or small effort can have a huge impact for communities. So thank you very much for this initiative, and I hope it makes it can be it will be replicated widely. I'm just looking if we have any questions for you in the chat or Q&A.
We have one in the Q&A. It's more than a question, a comment related to the water consumption question that we had in the poll, Lidia, and just to get your views on it, because the participant is saying, I believe that connecting the vegan diet with water consumption, it's not a strong argument, given that 1 kilogram of tomatoes consume 214 liters, same as milk, but the nutrition value, it's quite different. No, milk provides essential elements much more than tomatoes does. So what is your view on that argument, let's say? That's quite interesting, yeah.
Yes, if you compare product to product, you will find many differences. But if you compare the whole diet, for example, what you eat in a month, and compare it to what you would eat in a month if you were substituting it by plant-based foods, the impact will be a lot less. For example, we produce a report each year of how many gallons of water and how much CO2 we help our consumers save by switching from animal protein to using the proteins, the plant proteins that we use in our products. And the difference is very significant. For example, this last year, we helped our consumers save 9 million gallons of water just by switching from the plant-based, from the animal protein to the plant-based protein. And that is measured by the grams of protein. It's not measured by that food of this food, but by exactly what amount of protein, pure protein, you substitute. So you can compare one food to another. You may encounter vegetable foods that have a more negative impact. For example, some oils, they have a more environmental, negative environmental impact. But when you compare the diet as a whole, then you will see the real impact that it could have when you switch. It doesn't have to be everything, but when you switch some meals for plant-based meals.
Right, excellent. So yeah, it's looking at the full picture. Yeah, instead of doing necessarily the comparison in a case-by-case basis, what gives the full value to the to the argument of eating more vegan. And also, well, one of the questions that derives from there is this perception that it's not necessarily black or white, right? It's not necessarily that we need to switch from one day to the other to a vegan diet, but that a small change that we incorporate in our habits makes a big impact. So can you speak a bit to that? Let's say the point where somebody wants to have an impact, but they are still big meat lovers, and then it's going to be just hard to make the change completely from one day to the next.
Yeah, that's why we have a huge market now of animal protein substitutes, and it's more easy now than it has ever been to adopt a more sustainable diet. And you can start even if you don't want to use the substitutes, but because they're not the only solution, but you can start by your breakfast. Change your breakfast by a fruit. And fruit is one of the more environmentally friendly options there are, depending on where you live, obviously. But you can find local fruit and local organic fruit almost anywhere in the world. And that's a small change that will make you feel good, because in the morning it will give you the energy that you need. You won't have a heavy stomach, and then at lunch you can eat normally, and your dinner you can eat normally. Just change your breakfast and you'll see how it goes.
I would like to ask to you, Lidia, because earlier you mentioned about whole food diet. What does it mean? Because there's a lot of naming out there and not everyone is aware of what it's about. So
yes, whole foods means to eat the least amount of processed foods possible. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking about protein, for example, you can use meat substitutes, but you can have a plate of lentils. So a plate of lentils is more whole foods than a meat substitutes, and it's better for your body. Your body will assimilate it better, and it will be good for your gut, and it will be good for your system. A meat substitutes can help you substitute that feeling that you get when you eat meat, and it will give you the proteins and everything. But for more integral nutrition, a plate of lentils will be healthier.
And then my next question would be, is raw food healthier basically than like a processed food?
I think one of the things that we talked before was about the diets that are extreme. I think that there are extreme diets. There are people that are only eating meat, and there are people that are only eating vegetables. The key here is balance. Raw foods are very healthy, and foods that are not raw can be healthy too. So when you eat only raw foods, you need to have more care and more attention to what you're consuming, and making sure that you're consuming enough, because raw foods have a huge amount of water, and then you can get satisfied very easily, and you're still not consuming the amount of food that you need. So you need to be very careful when you eat raw foods. It's not that it's not healthy, but it needs more understanding of nutrition and your nutritional needs.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for your insights. It's super helpful, especially for me who's pretty new to to this topic. So Sibila, there's another comment in the chat?
Yeah, it's a follow-up on the question on the comment to the water consumption, but no other questions, I think, more. So we are coming to the end of the hour, the lunchtime hour. I hope everybody had a good lunch, hopefully a plant-based lunch, and we want to thank Lidia very much for her time for today and for having shared her insights. Please, if you have more questions for her or for the Innovation Lab or the Green2Compete team and anything on the Youth Ecopreneur Awards, please keep your questions and comments coming, and we look forward to inviting you and seeing you at the next Green Stories for Lunch. Again, Lidia, thank you so much. Congratulations again to winning the award, and we will very closely follow your company's expansion and also the expansion of your approach and ideas, and will do our part to contribute and to step up to the plate.
Thank you for the invitation, and buen provecho to everyone.
Thank you. Gracias.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.